Yes. A very good evening and a warm welcome to one and all the participants who have taken time out to come and join me here. So, today we are going to talk about the new age characters for the academic institutions. Now, before that, I would want to first thank Entab for introducing me to this platform and giving me the opportunity to speak on a subject which is so relevant in today's times. So I would also want to thank Nimisha for chasing me and also making sure that I come on board. So thank you, the entire team. Please do subscribe to their channel. Okay, and with this, please welcome. I am very pleased to have people, on board to hear out what I'm going to say for the next maybe 30 minutes. We will be taking on the questions, once I'm through with this in the last maybe the 5-10 minutes, because I want this to be an interactive thing. So with that, a warm welcome once again, and let's get started, right? So namaste, good evening, and a very good evening to one and all. Okay, so we've seen that the COVID-19, of course, has taken the world by a storm. And we've seen the educational institutions and schools across the globe, being shut down and sending the students home. But let me tell you, it's only the building that has closed, the school, but the teaching learning still goes on. So let me tell you the role that I am in. Okay, so as an academic director, I do manage schools across different cities and across different states. And in this role, I keep interacting with my principals, on a daily basis. Now, the pre-COVID, or I could say not pre-COVID, but the pre-lockdown, then the lockdown 1, and now of course it's lockdown 2, and we really don't know when this lockdown 3 will be announced, and when are we really going to go back to schooling as usual. So these are VUCA times. By VUCA times, what I mean is it's volatile, it's ambiguous, it's uncertain, and it's complex. Now, given this premise and given this background, let's understand that in all probability, and for all probable reasons, in all probability, and for I would say by all conservative estimates, this is going to be the way of life. So just when the lockdown 1 was announced, we all sort of jumped into the sea, started looking at the different digital platforms, identified the various platforms, trained the teachers, and started the online teaching. It was like just taking it on. We did not wait. Okay, there was hardly any time which was given, and slowly and steadily, we overcame the transitory hiccups and started doing the online classes. Now that it's 1.5 months of having conducted these classes, what lies ahead, right? So I must say that if there was one industry which was waiting to be disrupted, of course it is education. So let me come back, to my interactions with my principals over the last 1.5 months and 2 months that we regularly speak, on the different challenges that they are facing. So some, which we are able to resolve, and some which remain unresolved. Okay, so we are looking for answers. There is no one answer, of course, for the challenges which are being right now being faced by the teachers. So when we did a complete pattern analysis, there were three things which were thrown up. when we did this whole, when we collated the data and we looked at patterns. So first, of course, it was teacher trainings. Secondly, the mental anxiety which is associated every day about rescheduling the calendars, the timetables, looking at the student requirement, coming back to the drawing board, doing the lesson plan, integrating technology. So it's not easy, friends. It's not easy. And of course, there are issues, which are related to the internet. So what I have done is I have right now broken up my conversation into three parts. So one, where we have which is where the teachers, how the new age characters are going to be. What is the new normal going to be for the teachers? What is it going to be for the students and parents? And maybe post-lockdown, what are the school administrators and school owners going to be facing? What lies ahead of us? So let us first discuss, about our teachers, because they are the backbone. They are the backbone of the teaching learning process. They are the backbone of the schools. They are the face of the schools. They are the ones who interact with the students. So whether it's social, emotional well-being of the students, whether it is the academic part or the holistic development, definitely the teachers, they play a very critical role. So here, friends, my only recommendation or suggestion to the teachers would be, one, you have to upskill yourself. We don't have a choice. Upskilling, adaptation, and collaboration. Now, when we say upskilling, obviously, those days are past when just a B.Ed certification would suffice, for one's entire professional life. So we will have to integrate technology into our lesson plans. So let me again, compartmentalize this discussion for teachers into two parts. One, the science part, that is, how do I look at the pedagogy? What are the different pedagogies which are going to integrate technology into it, and how am I going to transact it? And the second part is the art of implementation. Now, I may have the best of the plans on paper, but if I am unable to execute it or implement it in the same manner, I don't think we meet with success, right? So let's look at the science part, okay? So here, we identify. So today what is happening is, when we integrate technology, obviously, I'm talking about, the different platforms, okay? I'm talking about, whether I'm using a particular software, right? So if it is mathematics, if it is science, if it is social studies, English, or the core scholastic subjects, what are the different softwares which are available? Okay, this is one part of the conversation. Second, how do I transact this? So till now it was the physical classroom, and I had access, maybe to the interactive whiteboard, or maybe the computer lab, right? So here, how am I going to transact the same thing online, right? So these are the questions which are continuously thrown at us, and we need to give them answers as school owners, administrators, and as head of schools. So first is, when you administer, today what is happening is, we are using different mediums. So it may be a WhatsApp, it may be the Google Hangout, it may be the Zoom platform, it may be the Microsoft Teams, right? So there are n number of these platforms available. The key thing is adaptation. So when I say adaptation, understanding the features and functionalities, and then, how can I integrate this into my delivery? That is the curricular delivery. Okay. So adaptation of different platforms, understanding student needs, that's a prime requirement. Okay. And then rejigging my plan each day. So suppose, for example, if projects have to be assigned, okay, then we should make sure that it should be ready. It should be with, the readily available materials at home under this circumstance. So, say the PTMs, your parent-teacher meets, the open houses, right? All these, of course, will have to be conducted online. We will have to figure out the ways and means. Okay, so technology is going to be the medium. That's not the end, but of course the medium through which we are going to reach out to them. So with that, a lot of effort will also need to be put, into remedial needs, I feel. So, and of course, when I'm talking about the science of lesson planning, I would very much want, my only suggestion to teachers would be to develop the flipped classroom pedagogy. What happens here is, the methods of constructivism can be easily blended into this lesson plan. And this should have three key elements. One, a clear objective and aim. Secondly, an engaging activity. And third, the assessment methods. So we'll discuss this in detail, what it means, because of course, within a lesson plan, my request to all teachers, to the education fraternity in general, would be we will have to integrate the values, remediations, within this entire science of writing the lesson plan, because because we want to be life ready. We don't want to be job ready. That's not the focus. The focus is completely shifted now, given the present circumstance. So the new age character, so when we talk of these, what's going to be the new normal, it is this normal. We want to be life ready, and we don't want to be job ready. That's not going to sustain us, right? Now, moving on to the art of implementation. Now that I have my lesson plan in place, I have integrated technology into it. I know which software to use, right? So I have typically devised this plan. Now, the art of implementation. Now, here again, be very clear that just like in a physical classroom, you are laying out your classroom rules. You have your ways and means of disciplining, right? Similarly, will have to lay out the rules for a virtual classroom. Now, here, this is where some teachers I've seen, they have there is a lot of anxiety or fear of using this platform. So don't worry, just jump in, don't wait, because if you have to swim, you have to jump, right? And I'm sure we will all sail across, because if we can sail 2020, we will be able to do a wonderful job in 2021. So right now it's about staying afloat. So jump in, because if you think that you're going to train yourself on the features, functionalities, and then come back, it's not going to happen. Just do it one fine day, and I'm sure the fear will go, because it's practice, practice, and practice, which by which you will also learn the tricks of the trade, right? So here, if I would say that just like classroom rules, and you will have to use features like the chat box, then the comment section, and the question answers. So it's quintessential that you make use of these features, which typically find mention in the bottom panel of any platform, whether it's Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or for that matter, Google Hangout. So how do you share your slides, if you have prepared some? Now, allocate time within the lesson plan for also, the students to put up the questions. Okay. So end of this, because you are the admin, so you can use those two buttons. You can mute and unmute your audience. You can put the camera on, the video camera, or you can also put it off. So these are some of the features you will have to get hands-on with. So while the session is on, you could put it on mute. But once the session is done, make it interactive, ask them, let them ask those questions, right? So once in a while, within the whole week, initiate the online discussions and doubt solving, so that they are heard and the queries, are resolved. Also, you could divide your online classes into three categories. One where you would want to go partial, one which is full-time, and the third where you would typically want to go for the home assignments. Coming to the question of the internet bandwidth issues, well, this is not within the circle of our influence, so no use breaking our heads. Once in a while, technology can also be a retardant, so we stay with it, right? Now, coming to the mental anxiety part. Okay, now that typically stems from the fact that some teachers might feel that, the others, my peers and my colleagues, are doing a wonderful job, and why am I'm left behind. So this entire, thought, that has to be abolished. So this is where collaboration comes in. So when I say upskilling, when I say adaptation, the third is collaboration. Only collaboration helps. You have to be interconnected, right? Which means that, if I'm not skilled, right, at maybe using technology or blending it superbly vis-a-vis, my colleague who is doing a wonderful job, all that is required is get into a conversation, do these small staff needs, and after that, end of it, bring all your challenges onto the table, see what has worked, see what has not worked. Okay, you could also, and because we are not working from the premise that we are competitors to each other. No, 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 no. We want to collaborate as teachers. We want to help each other. We want to facilitate each other. That should be the premise on which, you should have these meetings. Also, another way is to get your colleague, to watch your sessions with the camera off. So the person can be a silent observer to watch your lessons. Okay. Another way is maybe you could share the recorded video with your colleague, because the others, they can spot, the nuances where we might be failing. They are more adept at doing it faster for us, right? Secondly, practice self-awareness and be self-motivated. Okay. Now, that's where you have to be aware of your emotions. Okay. Moving on to the assessment part of it. So teachers, we still haven't found an answer, to about conducting examinations like the term end examinations or the midterm examinations. But what can really, what you could really administer or conduct is a small formative assessments. Now, by formative assessments, what I mean is, of course, which means the blueprint of the question paper will have to be changed. You will have to, split it into bits and pieces. So please concentrate on the learning outcomes. So when I say learning outcomes, it's about the progression of the topics or the learning outcomes across, my grades 1 to 10. And if I'm taking a strand, say measurements, or if I am concentrating on a strand of, say, just about the simple interest. Okay. Now, these are small examples, or maybe matter, energy, the listening comprehension, or the LSRW skills, as we call it, when it comes to language acquisition, right? It's very important to have the progression, the vertical progression of the learning outcomes with each and every teacher, because you cannot anymore function, that I am grade 5 science teacher and I don't take classes for 7th and I'm really not interested in the learning outcomes. No, it's not going to work that way. It's not going to work that way. So concentrate on the learning outcomes. There are the state, if we have to look at the state schools or the IGCSE or the CBSE schools, these are typically, they find mention on the portal. So for CBSE schools, it's cbse.nic.in, right? Similarly, when the method of conducting the assessments can vary. So you can use a Google form, the Google survey form. You will have to get a little IT help there, where you could actually assign a time limit or a duration, right? Duration to the whole test. Another feature can be it can be submitted only once. Okay, and you are also you're sharing that whole thing, maybe just about 10 minutes before the commencement of the exam. So what happens is, these are ways and means of addressing this challenge, but don't be in a hurry. Please space out and phase out these assessments. That would be my, really my suggestions. Also, if suppose I have made a paper and I want, you want to monitor it online, then you could put a stopwatch. You can conduct the online class. You could WhatsApp the question paper. They could write the paper. You could see those 10, 12 students with the video cameras on, so that they don't get up. So the screen should not be left blank, So the rules and the regulations will, of course, change here, which is why the instructions, which typically find mentioned, in a question paper or an answer sheet, here in case of online assessments will have to be, redefined, relooked into. Once they have answered it, they could immediately, in 5 minutes time, also WhatsApp the same to the teachers for them to do the corrections. So you scan and send. So these are all simple ways and methods, to address the everyday, the day-to-day challenges or the routine challenges, as I would say. Moving on, to the students and the parents. Well, the new normal, you have to embrace and respect technology. And I am going to stress on this point of respecting technology. Why? Because do not discuss the methods the teachers are employing. Do not disrespect them. Okay, my earnest request to you, do not ask questions to the teachers on behalf of the students, because these are live sessions going on. This is my earnest request to the parent fraternity. To the students, I would say you have to be now responsible for your own learning. No more are you going to be chased by your teachers for notebook correction, submit your assignment, etc., etc. So your own individual self plan, individual education plan has to be with you. You are the author. Okay. Also, uh, the one thing that, when in an online class, if the teacher is is already transacting something, and it's already muted, right, you can use the feature called raise a hand. Right, when you raise a hand, so you have to learn to use this. These are some of the ground rules which have to be defined by the teachers, followed by the students. My earnest request to parents, please, condition them to follow them. Right. When we say respect technology, well, that's what I mean. Technology can be an enabler. You can stream the lectures. You can revisit the recorded lectures. You can access them at your own free will and time. That's the beauty of technology, right? So if I have missed the lecture, I can always have these recorded sessions with me. I can do my self learning at my own pace. What better way to do this than now, right? So we all used to complain कि 35-45 का क्लास में एक बच्चे को आप कैसे if they have these difficulties, how is it going to be addressed, and the differentiated instructions, etc., etc. So this is the time to actually practice differentiated instruction, because you are going to put those notes. You're going to make your own notes that, okay, I haven't understood this particular concept, or maybe a sub concept, and you're going to email it to your teacher. And believe me, we respond to emails. There are SOPs which are defined, where we make our teachers to answer them. These can be discussed over your online sessions also. Now, another very important thing that I would want the parents and students to be aware of is the smart devices. Somebody who has a smart device with a very big screen, somebody who really does not have access to a device with a very big, maybe it's a small screen, and students this should not pose a challenge, because remember, our objective is the learning outcomes. Our objective is to stay on the factuals, right? This technology or the smart device is only a medium. Remember that, students. And you will have to express and put questions through the chat box, through emails, or maybe ask them in the next online class. Of course, for some of the first generation learners, right? First generation learners means this. Maybe the parents have never have had only elementary education. Now, in such a scenario, it's very important for schools and the teachers, to first get the parents, to internalize the whole platform or system. And then slowly and steadily, it will move on to the student too. So we'll have to have patience and resilience. That would be my only submission here. Moving on, to the owners and administrators. Now, that's where the major challenge is, which means that in all probability, post COVID, we will